Welcome to another episode of Core Living. Tonight, we enter stage purple, Spiral Dynamics. Welcome, folks, to another episode of Core Living.
Namaste.
Tonight, we are going to dive a little bit deeper down the spiral into stage purple. And the reason we have the candles is because they kind of... Why do we have the candles?
They're magical.
They're magical candles?
Magically.
And what does that...
This is the best we could find lying around.
How does that speak into spiral dynamics? What is stage purple?
Tribal magical thinking.
Tribal magical thinking. We've evolved out of stage beige now. We've arrived into maybe, the first stage of consciousness? Starting to realize and build some type of differentiation between ourselves and other. And when we talk about tribal, it's not just family, but it's the tight-knit community that surrounds it. And when you're looking at spiral dynamics, it takes a long time initially for these psychological value systems to progress. Beige was a long time. Whether we were cavemen or whatever the hell we were before we became conscious, that was a long time. And then when we moved into stage purple, the tribal period, that was thousands and thousands of years. So I would say a lot of conscious humanity has been in stage purple for almost the majority of our history. As sentient beings that are aware of themselves and other. There's a lot that goes into stage purple. What comes to mind for you beyond just the basic tribal magic aspect of stage purple?
Connection with nature.
Yeah.
A deeper connection with nature that I think a lot of people don't have. And what I mean by that is somebody that understands subtle cues that wildlife or nature is giving them to indicate changes that most would run below the radar of most modern civilized people.
Yeah. It would be hard. It's hard for me to relate to someone who might be living through that stage now. I think there's very little of that left on Earth. There is still some isolated tribes out there that would be full-on purple, but not too many. Most even tribes they're not, you probably wouldn't even be able to consider them tribes anymore. They're too enmeshed with surrounding cultures. One thing that rings a bell with stage purple is that they're animistic. They see spirit in everything. Everything is like a life source, has some type of mystical essence to it. Something that brings it maybe higher meaning, which is kind of interesting.
I think it's almost like by animistic, it's like personifying everything, right? So you could list it off, everything from sky spirit to mountain spirit to river spirit, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
I think it's and I think that it would be probably, you could assume that tribal thinking, stage purple, magical thinking people would maybe even appease, almost like they're gods, do something to appease the sky god so that it rains, or do something to appease the river spirit so that it, has lots of fish in it or something.
Yeah, take lots of action or ceremonies.
Yeah. So that's an important element to this thing too, is that there's a clear lack of scientific reasoning being applied. There's no science.
Yes.
In Stage Purple.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's fascinating that in like the initial phases of humanity, though, that there is some type of, they come to this understanding of some type of mystical beings or being out there that is kind of taking care of things. And it's not like it's just found in one tribe, it's like everywhere. All tribes all around the world, when you look back,
Right.
they all have that.
Well,
and they didn't have the connect. It wasn't like they were talking about it with each other.
Yeah.
They had it in their tribe, and it's everywhere. This connection with some.
You can
higher
scale the
source.
progression. It goes from like the first gods were pantheons of gods, right? There were like many, and there was an anthropomorphization of gods, meaning there was a stage where most beginnings of cultures were making animal deities. And then it became monotheistic, was like later on where religion started to hone, rather than having many gods, they honed it down to like one god. And then now we're living in the age of, probably since the turn of the century, a huge drop of just dropping the whole god thing altogether.
Yeah. Well, moving up or down, which way you want to look at it, moving up to, you'll get into that as you see kind of like the monotheistic god entity as that progression works through there. Lots of like sacred ceremonies, like drum circles and stuff like that. I guess which we talked about. But where would you see like where we see actually Stage Purple still in our cultures today? We actually have Stage Purple thought that still runs through even our modern day systems, which you might not even recognize. Like if you really gave a power to a rabbit's foot or something like that, that would be kind of like a Stage Purple-y type of thing. To believing that if I just have this rabbit's foot, it's going to bring me good luck, and then if I don't have it, then bad things could happen to me.
Those dirty hippies at Nature's Emporium selling feathers and...
Well, there's lots of
just
things.
kidding, I bought a feather from there. I'm pretty sure I bought some incense.
Here's something that's very Stage Purple. I don't know what do they call it when you like don't walk under a ladder, bad luck or something, superstitious stuff like that. Like we don't have like house number 13. Don't you think in like 2020 we'd be able to be like, okay, we can have a house 13. We don't have to skip from go from 11 to 15. We can have a 13th floor on an elevator. Right. It doesn't change because we put, but maybe there's something to it because we're still doing it in numerology. Yeah. We're still doing it. So that superstition, I guess, still is around even now, which comes from Stage Purple. Mm-hmm. Being able to, like, I guess, move past Stage Purple isn't as easy as maybe we think it is.
Put that candle out. I'm too hot. It's hot in here.
So what are maybe some of the negative parts of Stage Purple?
Cannibalism.
And cannibalism. Yeah, that's not good. Cannibalism's not good. What are some of the...
Tribal warfare, weird, non-scientifically,
Well, lack of knowledge.
Yeah. Lack of knowledge, but to like a detriment. Like, if you got in your head, if you thought somebody that had some kind of treatable mental illness and just thought that they were full of demons, you know what I mean? And did some kind of like, what's that thing where they drill a hole in your head? What is that called? Trepidation or something? It still happens to this day. People drill holes into their through their skull to like apparently there's some medical, don't go doing it, but there are people that claim that there's some kind of, there are some instances where it still makes sense, but people used to do it because they thought it would get rid of demons out of their head or something. So like stupid surgeries and stupid practices that, but here's the thing though, I'm not convinced that some of that magical thinking, that there's nothing to it. I'm not convinced that if you did go up to somebody that had I'm a kook. Feel free to be judging me from your camera. But I'm not convinced that if you didn't go up to somebody with a particular mental disorder or something like that, and like exercised them that it's not possible that they wouldn't believe that they'd been exercised and maybe their life would
Something
change.
might happen. Who knows?
At this point in my life, there's enough. Life is crazy enough as it is. Reality is so crazy. If you don't think the fact that everything exists and the way it is nuts, you don't got your eyes open. So the fact that everything already is the way it is makes me pretty open to the possibility of things. I mean, I'm not gonna bet the house on it, but
Yeah.
I'm open to some.
Why
wild
not?
stuff.
Why not? Like, I do stage purpley things. People know that I dabble with tarot cards. That's
You don't
very,
dabble. You're
That's very stage
you're a
purpley.
tarot master.
I've gone to Reiki sessions before. That's very stage purple.
Okay, yeah. Reiki seems super stage purple. Talk a little bit about Reiki.
Well, I want to do
You're
a whole.
expert.
I want to do a whole episode on it. So I'll just. It's been a lot of like non-touchy, healy energy stuff and
Energy
stones
work,
and
right?
healing. I've only done it a few times, but I like it, and it's interesting, and I get something out of it. Whether or not it's just a placebo effect, whatever, who cares? I don't know. We dabble with more stage purple stuff than you think. Putting on your lucky jersey for a Leaf game or whatever, or for whatever team you support, believing that that's going to make your team win, that's stage purple.
Being into sports at all, super ignorant stage purple. Come on. They're bad because they're a different. This is my team. Mine. Your team.
There's something in there.
Yeah.
You don't like the sports.
Especially modern day
But,
sports. Maybe
yeah.
back in the day when it was like you could wave to the captain of the hockey team. I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything about sports.
So purple's around. We were talking about this before. It starts to get limited though. Like if you believe berries are holy and they're going to give you magical strength, and you go around the forest picking berries, not knowing what type of berries, and then you eat poisonous berries, that's where it becomes a detriment. Not being able, that lack of knowledge, but also you start to grow out of stage purple when the world starts expanding, the community around you starts growing, and tribes come in conflict, like you said, tribal warfare. And, you have your ceremony for Make It Rain, and their ceremony is the exact opposite of your ceremony. Well, whose ceremony is right? And then what happens when, one of them gets knocked up by the other tribe, and you got to get married and intertwine with them? Then you got some real problems. And then, as time progresses and the world gets more knowledgeable around you, and it's clearly obvious that, washing your hands and stuff like that before you do open heart surgery is going on, rather than, just using a knife, like a fishing knife to cut someone open.
Yeah, everybody's probably heard of the story. How high the mortality rate was in maternity wards.
Yeah.
And then the guy had an inkling that it was germs. Some guy, I don't remember what his name was. And he went around telling everybody, and I think they locked him in a psych ward. They were like, there's no such thing as microscopic things. And then they were like, oh, let's just try it. And then they started washing their hands, and more babies were surviving. Many people have heard that.
That type of thing, like the world, as it shrinks and you're not just so tied into your community, you start to see the limits of stage purple. But we romanticize a lot about, it's kind of fascinating, that connection with like nature, and that is a beautiful thing. I think it's a good thing. But you're probably not going back there. But as you go up the spiral, you're going to revisit some of that spirituality time and time again as you go through some of the stages, which we will get to. And that's kind of one of the fascinating things about spiral dynamics. It's more intertwined with your life than you might actually be aware of, and it can be very helpful for helping you recognize what you're going through and why other people seem so different to you. Why can they believe something so different than what you believe? And that's what I'm excited about as we get further into the more practical stages of spiral dynamics. I think it's going to be interesting when we start getting into blue and orange and green, which are kind of the stages where most of us...
What comes after purple?
Red.
Okay, so it goes beige, purple, and then red, right?
Yeah.
So is red looking down at purple and thinking, you idiot,
Yes.
you fool, there's no gods or anything, like...
It's not that there's no gods. Red can believe in gods, but red, one of the things about purple is that within their circle, they're very community orientated, and sometimes...
Don't get too into red.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about purple right now.
Oh, okay.
One of the good things about purple is that the leaders in purple really care about what's best for the whole. Now that can be a complicated
Right. Did
choice.
we talk about that? The fact that stage purple is like, when you say tribal, that's not just like, oh, they're all part of the same gang. It's like, no, they're like a family. Like stage purple and the
Even though they're not all genetically connected.
but they put the, because the way spiral dynamics work is it oscillates from self-centered to group-centered to self-centered, and stage purple is very group, like
Yes.
to the point where they put the group above their own
Yes.
self.
Yes.
That's a stage purple thing,
Yes.
which just seems like a good thing. Like,
Which is, yes,
kinda.
it's a good thing. Sometimes where it starts to get limited and comes into conflict with red, because red is very me orientated, very carnal, powerful, and controlling. It will do whatever it can to take whatever purple has. It puts a lot. There's a lot to conquering. Whereas purple is more about just living within its means, making the community survive and thrive. Red is ready to conquer and take over and have the best of all that life has to give itself. So if that means destroying your tribe so its tribe can flourish, it will do it. And so what happens is a lot of the stage purple tribal leaders, they come off as weak. They're not weak, they're just more community centered and care about their tribe, and they're not so focused on all the other tribes that are surrounding them. That's why they kind of, one of the limitations of purple is that it doesn't see some of the incoming dangers that are coming, which we'll get to when we get into red.
But isn't purple constantly looking out for signs? Like, isn't it like, hawk, that means it's going to be, like, how do they not?
Yeah, they've got their thing. I don't know. I haven't studied tons of tribes and stuff like that, but I guess I've studied enough though. But they have a lot of stories, usually orally passed through their traditions.
Stage purple is pre-literacy, right?
Yeah, there's sometimes like a little bit through like markings and stuff like that, but mostly it's pre-literate.
You should just direct them to actualize.org. Like, just go to actualize.org and look up stage purple. It's gonna be better than that.
Hey, we're fun. We're taking our own spin on it, right?
I think I have Spiral Dynamics Integral on my phone, but it's just a sample.
Yeah.
I think the book's a lot drier.
Yeah, the book is. I read. By the way, Spiral Dynamics was created by someone named Claire Graves, and then
Don Beck.
Don Beck and Christopher? What's it? Not Christopher Cohen. Something Cohen. Something
The
Christopher.
Cohen brothers.
Something Cohen. They kind of like expanded upon it and gave it life. I guess I don't know.
Pass that box over. That's pretty purple looking.
What box?
The one with all the crazy designs.
This one?
Yeah. No, the one on top. The
This
one that
one?
looks like a magic box.
There's my magic box. That's very stage purple. Crystal's very stage purple, or maybe not. There might be some scientific fact around crystals. A lot of people put a lot of stock in crystals.
Here's the thing. It's hard to talk about without making stage purple sound like bullshit. Like, essentially it's the bullshit stage. But I don't think that that's supposed to be the point here. I think the point is that it's like
It's a necessary phase. Like part of like stage purple, like you get out of stage purple pretty fast. As a child, something that would be very stage purple-y, like nowadays, because you still go through purple, even as a kid, even now, when you're a kid, like say you had like a sniffy blanket when you're like 5 years old. You believe that that blanket, notice how the kid always fights for just that blanket. I can't go to sleep without my sniffy blankie. That is
have a blanket
because
complex.
that they believe that that blanket like gives them comfort. It does something more than every other blanket, but there's nothing special about it. It's just a blanket, but it's special to them. That is like a child going through stage purple.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
Yeah. So
Sentimental about certain toys or certain things that mean a lot to them.
yeah.
I wonder if animals go through these stages, because sometimes dogs will have like a shoe they won't let go of.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe the dogs are animals.
It's a new field right there.
Yeah.
Animal spiral dynamics.
So, animals going through the spiral. Yeah, I think we did an all right job on stage purple.
I can't tell anymore. But weren't we supposed to ask something like where would we plot ourselves on it or something?
Okay, we'll do that at the end. I don't want to do that now.
Okay.
I
I
thought
thought
it
it
was
was
through
the
the
end.
whole
How long are
spiral.
we
No, when
talking?
you go through the whole spiral.
Okay, well, how about this? What if we say, where in your life do you still, or I guess
Well, I did. I talked about where I think I'm stage purple.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, where are you stage purple? Where do you?
Yeah.
Write down in the comments the things that you find are stage purpley.
Yeah.
Could be some type of weird OCD thing.
Or just anything in the comments.
Yeah. Anything. Tell me how you're purple. How you're still tribal. But yeah, no, it's still out there. So
Yep.
There you
Stage
go,
purple.
folks.
Hopefully you understood what we were talking about.
all right, next week we'll get into stage red. Moving up
Ooh,
the
that's
spiral.
gonna be a good one.
Yeah, there's now we're starting to get closer to.
enemies
There's and hear still-
the lamentation of their women.
There's a lot of
Taste.
stage red still thriving around,
Oh yeah.
especially in the current world we're living in right now.
Watch Conan the Barbarian in preparation.
Yeah.
Homework assignment.
You go in the bus.
That's
That's a good one to watch. But anyway, wanted to hear. Thanks everyone for watching. If you liked the episode, hit the subscribe, the like, share it with a friend, and everybody. Until next week,
Stay spiritual.